hope you guys enjoyed that theme song right there that opened up this show. That is actually my theme song for now on. That'll be my entrance music, produced by Girls Meets Ghost, a good friend of mine that produced it for me. And we have another first on this cutting room episode. This is going to be a part from the season. This is going to be our very first guest, our inaugural guest here on the Cutting Room podcast. And I would like to introduce to you today the center of attention herself, the inaugural Dreamwave champion, Brittnie Brooks, that we have here. Brittnie, thank you very much for taking the time out today to talk to us today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm super excited to be here.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. First of all, we like to talk about how I met Brittnie. It was actually through I went to a Prestige wrestling show live, and it was the very first time I actually did my outings. The very first time I donned the mask, and I actually saw her at the merch the merch stand. Believe J Rod was there with you, and I
Yes.
approached her, and I immediately thought like, there's something about this girl that speaks star. Certain super friendly. They had no idea what her career was about. I had no idea who she was. It's just I was immediately attracted to the stardom that she had, the aura that she has. There's something that when the pro wrestler comes out, and it's just attraction completely. And she actually is the inaugural Dreamwave Women's Champion. But we're gonna talk about that where she had to relinquish the championship recently. I'm assuming so, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So my first question today, Brittnie. So what got you into pro wrestling? Who got you into
Ooh,
it?
one day my brother was just watching it on his TV. Like he didn't even know what it was. I was just like, "What are you watching?" And he's just like, "Oh, I saw dad watching this," which I don't think my dad meant to watch it either. So, yeah, we just fell in love with it. And my brother and I watched it every single week. We didn't know about pay-per-views. We didn't know about like all we watched was SmackDown. Then we found out about Raw. We slowly started finding out more about stuff. And I would just became obsessed with it. I became obsessed with John Cena, and he was like such like a huge inspiration for me to this day. I really hope to meet him one day. Um, and just like I don't know, I just watched it all the time. These walls used to be just covered in posters. I started buying all the merchandise, all the toys. In August 27th, 2013, I went to my very first WWE Raw show. I remember the date to this day. Yeah, I was little, and we went up to the merch table, and I got my little John Cena sweatbands and everything, and I made a little sign for Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee on one, like Dolph Ziggler on one side, AJ Lee on the other. Crazy. And yeah, just it really just started snowballing into just becoming an obsession. My brother started to not really watch it. I had to go to the shows every single time they came to Arizona. Like there was one year they did like Money in the Bank and Elimination Chamber and like a Raw. It was all like back to back to back. And I was like begging my dad. I would go like pull weeds in my backyard to be like, "Hey dad, can I have money?" So then I would save up all my money and buy tickets or buy like merchandise when I went there because they didn't like putting their credit card online to buy things. So I just waited and I bought as much merch as I could at the shows. And yeah, I just was obsessed, like literally obsessed to like the craziest extent ever.
Nice. So you mentioned that you are from Phoenix, Arizona, correct?
Yes.
So believe there's this is a connection between me and you. My very first live event ever was SummerSlam 2003. That was in Phoenix,
Wow.
Arizona.
I wasn't born yet. So
Okay, yeah, okay. So wait, what? What year were you born?
2004.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So believe it or not, this woman before we're gonna get into this episode about what this woman has done in her whole career as of right now, because I've done my research. But wow, all these accomplishments that you've pulled off in the short amount of time in your career is awesome. But I want to get back to
Thank
into
you.
this show because it means so much to me. It was my very first live event ever. The first company I ever got into, of course, has to be WWF. At the time, it was WWE. SummerSlam 2003 in Phoenix, Arizona. Such a great experience. I remember watching the Elimination Chamber. Triple H was the champion, and he defended it against Kevin Nash. Chris Jericho was there. Randy, I want to say Randy Orton was probably competing in that match as well. Such a great show. I love being at live events. Which live event to you stands out? What was your very first, very favorite live event?
My very favorite? I don't know. I went to like at least 15 to 20, all in
Oh,
Arizona. Like, I never really now realize now traveling as a wrestler, I'm like, why did I never like ask to drive to like Vegas or
mhm,
California? Um, the the best one uh, was probably the first one because it was
okay.
just like, whoa, these are real people. Like, it's
Mhm,
not just a movie. Like, honestly, every time I watched wrestling, I was like, oh my God, like, like, I bet it's impossible to do that. Like, I feel like when they came here in 2013 and I got to go, it was like, oh, like, this is a real thing and people like this. Like, nobody at my school when I was 5 years old liked wrestling. Nobody liked,
mhm,
anything that I did. So, it was super cool to see there was other people who liked it too, and I
mhm,
wasn't just like in the
mhm.
abnormality.
So you talk about being a fan. Where did the spark of I want to do this for a living? Where did that come
Honestly,
up? How did you find the school?
honestly, that day that I went in 2013, I was like, I want to become a wrestler. Like, I think it's possible. Like, these people are probably all normal people one day. Even like being however young I was in 2013, I don't even know.
Mhm,
How old was I? I was like 9. And even just seeing that, I was like, oh, it's possible. So in 2019, I found Arizona Wrestling Federation, which it was all because of Instagram. Like I used to the page, the Brittany Brooks page
mhm,
used to be a fan page for wrestling actually, and I would post like in photos, in t-shirts, and photos with wrestlers and all that stuff. And one day I just saw Arizona Wrestling Federation. I was like, what? There's local wrestling? Because when I was younger, I did jiu-jitsu, and
mhm,
every time I would go to a jiu-jitsu school, they'd also have wrestling. And I'm like, oh, that's wrestling. And then I would get there and it would not be wrestling that I liked. It wouldn't be sports entertainment wrestling. So I
mhm,
was like, what? And then when I found AWF, I was like, this is the wrestling I've been looking for. I hit them up. I literally, my little voice calling, like, hi. And they had like a kids class.
mhm,
So I started in the kids class, which is crazy. I'm one of the only people who still wrestles from that kids class. Um, there's one other guy, and he's like, starting to wrestle on shows now, and it's great to
mhm,
see. But yeah, just I started training, and then eventually I was like, all right, this is kids. You know what I
mhm,
mean? Like, I want this for my career. Like, I felt like I was kind of like the only one with that. Like, I want to start wrestling on shows. Like, y'all can keep play wrestling. I want to get to the shows. And then I started the adult class in like after like maybe 5 or 6 months. And I was like, oh, this is what I want. Like, and my coach was extra hard on me because I was the youngest there, one of the only girls. Like, I trained from the beginning with the intent that I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I think that's what's helped me stand out and, just be different from everybody else. Cause it's like, I don't want to just wrestle locally. I want to wrestle everywhere. I want to make it to WWE. I want to do this for my life. I want to go for broke, whatever it takes. And just having that mindset is honestly what helped me like get to the next level. I'm still like, not at the level that I want to be, but it's definitely helped me, get booked outside of Arizona and get booked outside of the areas and get flown to places, stuff like that.
So you talk about your trainer, and correct me if I'm wrong. You were trained by the great LT Lawrence Taylor.
A great LT, how'd you know
I
that?
did my research. What is the best thing that you learned about him? What was the greatest advice that he gave to you when it comes to in ring
Ooh,
ability?
I just feel like this guy's always right. Like, it's so funny because there's so many times where like I'll ask him a question and I just like I'm a stubborn person and like I'll ask for advice, but ultimately I want to do stuff my own way. So I'll do it my own way and then I'll come back and he'll be like, I was right. I told you I was gonna be right. And then I'll be like, yeah, you were right. The best piece of advice he's probably given me is to go for broke. Like I said it a second ago, but there was a time period last year. So the last time I tore my ACL, which was 2 years ago, it was the other knee, by the way, but I was just in a really like I feel like I'm not getting anywhere with wrestling. I was still young too. Like I was literally only 16 or 17 when I tore no, I was 17 when I tore my ACL. And I was just like, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere with wrestling. I feel like I'm not getting better. Like I would go out there and have a really bad match.
Mhm.
And I was only wrestling in Arizona, just in this little bubble of the same people, the same matches. Like I just feel like I wasn't growing, wasn't getting better. And it was like, all right, it's because I can't travel because of still in high school, stuff like that. When I came back from the knee injury, I was like, "Nah, like, I need this." So I started traveling a lot more, and he there was I wanted to go to college at GCU,
Mhm.
and he was just like, "I don't know if that's a really good idea because in that case, like, you can't just wrestle and you can't just focus on wrestling and focus
Mhm.
on, eating and going to the gym and training and being a wrestler."
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of people in this world that play wrestler, and then there's a lot of people who are a wrestler.
Mhm.
And even though I'm a female and like, the standards a little bit different and there's all like body types and all, mindsets and styles and everything in wrestling now, I'm still very old fashioned in the fact that I want to look like a wrestler. I
Mhm.
want to look like a star. And I
Mhm.
don't just want to be a weekend warrior. Like I want to do this every single night. I want to keep getting better. I want to train and look like I'm somebody,
Yeah.
right? Like there's aura, like you said earlier, and I want to have that aura when I walk into the grocery
Mhm.
store. And there's so many wrestlers that like don't really have that anymore, and I want to be the exception. I
Okay.
want to be like Jordan Grace. Like she walks into a store and people are like, "All right, that girl does something. Like who is
Yep.
she?" Cuz she's literally insane.
She,
Like
she-
that's what I want to get to, and honestly, like that's what I'm focusing on the most during this ACL tear because I want to just have a complete upper body like transformation and be like a tiny Jordan Grace.
so exactly, and she fits the moniker, the Juggernaut. Believe it or not. But let's get back
Mhm.
into the center of attention. One of the things that I've always noticed about you is you're a student of the game. You keep to very OG style things. One of the things I noticed about you is your entrance. Um, I saw you a couple times where you give out the glasses out to the little girls in the crowd. Was that inspired
Yes.
by Bret Hart? Was that an Orange Cassidy thing? Where did that come from? And let's get into that.
It was definitely inspired by Bret Hart. I started doing it on one show and I felt really bad because there's another guy in Arizona named Chubby Depp and he was doing that too.
Mhm.
And I just like it just like didn't even cross my mind.
Mhm.
And I did it and he was like, "No, that's my thing." And I was like, "Sorry, bro, sorry, bro." So then I started doing it at other shows, just not in Arizona. And then I just started doing it like every single show.
Mhm.
So it was definitely inspired because I want to make little boys and girls feel like they're a part of something. And I
Mhm.
want them to feel the way that John Cena made me feel. That man throws out a shirt, and I just like every time I would buy a ticket to a live show, I was like, all right, I need to sit close because I need to get this John Cena shirt. And I
Mhm.
never got it. But the idea of catching something like that or being
Mhm.
given something, it's so much different than just going to a merch stand and buying it. Like
Exactly.
the little glasses on a little girl or little boy is just so special to me
Mhm.
because it makes people realize like I'm not here to just like be rude, be a Maggie Lee. I'm here to be a Brittany Brooks, and I'm here to be an inspiration to those little kids and make them feel a part of the show.
Mhm. And that's such a beautiful thing because right now I feel like women's pro wrestling is in such a good place. How do you see it? From being prior a fan and now a professional, where do you see women's pro wrestling nowadays in this day and age? Because it's in such a great place to me, in my opinion, but you might see it differently, especially from a professional standpoint. Where do you see it right now? What's the status of it? There's things that you could improve that you want to bring to the table. What do you see in it?
I think it's absolutely incredible. Like the amount of spaces and opportunity for women now is so different like than it was when I was watching it during the Divas era. Like I remember that Divas Revolution and it was just so cool cuz like Nikki Bella was my biggest inspiration and to
Hmm.
see like all those people walked so we could run.
Mhm.
Like the idea that I am just this random girl from Arizona getting flown out to these shows all across the states, even to other countries, like that's so wild to me. Like I'm just a 19-year-old girl living her little dream, and I'm like I'm obviously not where I want to be yet, but just the idea that that's even possible is so unreal to me. And I know that it's all because of all the women who have fought because their matches got canceled, fought because they had 2-minute matches, and fought because they were over sexualized. Like all of that, like all that I get to do is because of all those women. So I think it's in such a great place. And the only way to go is up. I think I would love to see an Evolution Part 2 from WWE. I think that they like I don't know why they haven't had a part 2 yet, but yeah. And I'm really for the women, like Uprising, which is connected to Dreamwave. They do an all women's show, and those cards are just stacked. They give girls from all over such an opportunity, plus mixing girls that are like big stars all on the same show. Like, you have people like from Arizona, like Zamaya and like J Rod from Cali. And then you have like stars like Masha Slamovich and Kylie Ray, like those girls who are super established on the indies. Yeah, I just think Uprising is absolutely incredible. If you guys get the chance to check it out, the next show is August 2nd on IWTV. Absolutely stacked card every single time.
Make sure to check out that show that she just put out, ladies and gentlemen, because this woman's opinion is second to none. But you talked about a certain name that I like to bring up, Masha Slamovich. I saw in an interview that that's one person that you would want to continue having more matches with, because you have good chemistry with her. And I got to see one of those matches. Is there anybody else that you haven't wrestled with that you would want to wrestle with, or you want to
Ooh,
have a sequel match too?
so many. There's so many people I want to wrestle. So like Jordan Grace is a big one. I just
Mhm,
mentioned her earlier. Mentioned her earlier.
mhm.
She's just like the current like biggest inspiration for me because like she's had such a huge like impact on women's wrestling. The way she looks, the way she wrestles, like
Mhm.
she's honestly, in my opinion, one of the best women's wrestlers, one of the best wrestlers ever. Like you can't even put women's on it because she's just insane. I would love to wrestle her. I would love to have my rematch with Brooke Havoc because Brooke and I are really good friends,
Mhm.
and I love her style, and I think she's just so cool. And I got to wrestle her one time about a year ago in Santa Clara, and she actually cut my nose open.
Oh
But
no.
and I still have a scar there from it, which is funny. I would love to wrestle Amira. We were just talking about her earlier on Prestige.
Mhm.
She's absolutely killing it right now. Literally she's so talented. I would also love to wrestle shoot, I had a whole list and now
Uh,
my mind's blanking.
no,
Oh
it's all
oh
good, and there's
snap.
so many names running through your head. I know I could only assume it. People ask me what's my favorite match of all time, and it's like, oh my god, this is a dark hole of things that we could get into right now. This is an endless
So many.
conversation. But we talked about the position of women's pro wrestling in modern day age. But one thing I'd love to point out, to the fans out there, is that don't let the blonde hair fool you. Don't let this face fool you. This woman can go. And I like to point out that you had an intergender match with Chris Evans, which I got to
A
see
few, like three, I think.
3 of them. Okay, so I probably saw one of them, and it was when, there was an interference towards the end.
Oh yeah, in the cage.
Exactly. So, how did
Uh-huh.
that match come about? How did they approach you? How did you feel going into that match, especially being an intergender match?
I mean, this is an equal there's an equal opportunity for an ass whooping, especially to someone who runs his mouth and calls himself all of these things. And honestly, I mean, whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, this match honestly came about because we've had like this ongoing rivalry, but obviously so much has happened. Like in 2021, I hit him with a kendo stick and had him fall through a table. And then like we had a match, or no, then I tore my ACL, I think. I think that was before I tore my ACL. Tore my ACL, came back, then we finally had a match, and it was what was it? It was like last year. And then we had another match again last year. when I did like the summer of Brittnie thing, when I
Mhm,
like dressed up and I had like all this like summer outfit on,
mhm,
and I was like in Tucson. And then this match was like, all right, finally we like have a cage match to settle the differences, settle the score. And yeah, then Fallon Gray had to come out and ruin it again,
mhm.
but doesn't shock me. So
Okay. Okay, so you talked about traveling, because you're based out of Arizona. Um, you've had the best of both worlds, and this is just a random fact for me, only because I love both places. What's better, In-N-Out or Whataburger?
ooh, I mean, I don't know. So, I don't love In-N-Out, but I also don't love Whataburger. I really wanna try Wawa the next time I'm on the East Coast.
Okay.
I was trying to go when I was in Philly for WrestleMania weekend, but I had to, like, DoorDash my energy drinks from Wawa, and that was,
Mhm.
like, the closest thing I got. Honestly, my answer is Buc-ee's.
Oh, wow, that's a
Buc-ee's
oh, man, she pulled
sandwiches
one
are
out
the
from left
best,
field.
alright? Like,
Alright.
so good. It's the best, like, attraction place,
Mhm,
like, I didn't know that growing up, I didn't know that In-N-Out and Whataburger were not in all states, like, I
mhm.
just went to them whenever, and I didn't go to Whataburger that much. To me, Whataburger is, like, a little bit overpriced, but I also know that their hours are better than In-N-Out.
Yeah.
So, Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is my answer.
Okay. You talked about energy drink. What's the energy drink of the day? I've also followed you on TikTok, and
Ooh.
yeah, what did we have today?
Today I had a pink slush Alani. That's definitely like my favorite energy drink right now. If y'all want to check out my TikTok, I try new energy drinks all the time on my TikTok. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Make sure to check that out, guys. During your training, I have a huge respect for any type of talent pro wrestler, anybody in the industry, because I also trained to be a pro wrestler in my early days. I used to train with the Santino Brothers Academy back over here in LA. But during your training, where did you feel that you got your confidence? Where did it start feeling comfortable? Where did you start becoming where did you become the Brittany Brooks that we see today? Is there a certain match? Is there a certain workout or anything during your training where you felt like, you know what? Now I got it.
I think there's still things that I'm like lacking in terms of just minor things. But honestly, last year, once I came back from my ACL surgery and I really started wrestling and getting bookings and like getting the ability to like travel and have all these eyes on me, I started getting into a flow where like I was wrestling 2 to 3 matches a weekend and it just started to be like great, I guess. Like, I don't know. There's definitely a lot of things that I need to work on and a lot of things I'm eager to get back to. But confidence is definitely a thing that I feel like people develop over time and I'm still developing it. But yeah, like I think just once I started getting in the flow of wrestling more and getting wrestling people who are better than me and wrestling people who gave me tips and tricks and advice, like that was really big to me. So, yeah.
Sounds good. Um, During my research, I noticed that you have appeared on AEW Dark, which is probably one of the biggest
Yes.
stages you can compete on right now, especially with this new boom period in pro wrestling. How did the AEW show come about? Did they reach out to you? Did you have an inside hookup? How did that come about, and how was that? Being so young
Um
in your career.
It was really cool because I had, like, just come back from surgery, like, a month before. Essentially, every time they go to an area, they look at the indie wrestlers in that area to
Mhm,
have matches for now Ring of Honor.
mhm,
But, yeah, AEW is really cool because it was also, like, my first contact to, like, one of the major companies. Like, now I've obviously done a lot of extra work for a lot of like, all the companies, but back then, it was so huge to me. I was literally freaking out. Like,
mhm.
I literally had to miss school that day
No
to go
way.
because I was still in high school.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it was just really cool. I wasn't expecting to get a match and I was shocked when I did. It was like a triple threat squash match, but it was all right. And I also did Ring of Honor earlier this year, but the match never really saw the light of day just because it was a little bit of a hectic mess. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Did that AEW Dark in-ring gear ever come? I noticed that you ordered something and it never came in time. Did that ever come in?
I think I don't remember
No.
when what was going on with that.
Oh, okay. Because I knew when you do big shows, talent tends to order a brand new gear for that specifically for that match. And I saw a previous interview where you said that it never came in time. Have you ever had to deal with something prior to a match, prepping for it, where something didn't go right in preparation for that match, whether it be your gear? How nerve wracking is that? Because you're prepping for a big debut, you're prepping for a big match. Has there ever been a situation where you were like short on time? You probably didn't make your date, your time, your booking. What was like one story where you're like, oh my God, I don't think I'm gonna make it, but you ended up doing it anyways?
Oh, all the time. Literally, the day I tore my ACL was the craziest travel day I've ever had, and I didn't get to stretch before. I barely ate like 20 minutes before wrestling. I was putting on my lashes when they told me we had to go out. And that was like, honestly, I think one of the reasons I got injured because I didn't get enough time to stretch. My luggage got taken by somebody. It was a whole mess of a travel day.
Mhm.
And like obviously that's gonna happen. There's been multiple times where like I haven't gotten gear in time. Like I was supposed to have new gear before I can't remember which match. I think it was before no, I had new gear for anniversary. It was before one of the Dreamwave shows, and I was so upset. I had to
Mhm.
wear one of my older sets. All that stuff happens. It's just the nature of the game,
Mhm.
like not getting enough time to stretch, being late with layovers. Like one time I had a 10-hour layover in
Ah,
Florida. Luckily that the show was the next day, but I was going crazy at that MCO airport with the horrible carpet.
mhm. And that's something that and this is the type of awareness I like to bring to my fans is that there's a lot of things that go behind the scenes that they don't know that pro wrestlers do go through.
Yeah, a
One of the things
lot.
you mentioned your favorite wrestler, John Cena, and we're gonna get into this. The retirement has been announced. That I know. How do you feel about it? Where were you when you heard this news? What's your thoughts on it?
I was at work and I got a text, "Hey, do you want this John Cena last shirt?" I was like, "What? What do you mean his last shirt?" He's like, "Yeah, it's gonna be his last shirt." And I was like, "What?" And then I went on Twitter and I was like,
Yeah.
heartbroken. But like, it's just honestly motivation to me to be like, all right, I need to be an extra at WrestleMania again this year. Like,
Mhm.
I absolutely need to do that. I need to be in the building when he has his last match. I'm so heartbroken, but Mania weekend this year is gonna be lit. Like, I'm gonna be back. It's in April. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be running it because it's in Vegas.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be great to be there and have my car and go to as many shows as I want to. But yeah, like it's just giving me more fuel. Like, all right, I need to get back soon. I need to get back on that extras list so I can be there for WrestleMania, be in the building,
Mhm.
you know?
In your personal opinion, who would you rather see for that specific WrestleMania show? Who do you feel is the most suiting opponent for him that night?
I don't know. I honestly think John Cena's last match should be like either either Cody Rhodes to give it like
Mhm.
current thing. But to renew, like, an old rivalry, I think it would be really cool to see John Cena versus Randy Orton one last time because that's
Mhm.
the rivalry that stands out the most.
Mhm.
I actually used to have a book from my book fair that I got, and it was John Cena versus Randy Orton, the rivalry. I
Uh-huh.
read that book, like, every day.
Mhm.
Like, it was a picture book, and I read it, and I don't know why I loved it so much, but yeah, that was just a rivalry that stands out the most to me.
And it's a rivalry for the ages. It's one that stands the test of time. It's up there with Rock and Stone Cold. It's up there with many rivalries have Dusty Rhodes and the great Ric Flair. But going back to Dreamwave, you are the inaugural Dreamwave Women's Champion. How did that come about? How did they approach you? What was the preparation for that match? What do you remember from that night that you become the
So
first?
funny enough, it was almost a year ago when I made my Dreamwave debut at their summer explosion and those summer nights double shot. I actually reached out to them.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to do a show in like I want to say June because they run every other month. So yeah, but in June, I was supposed to be on their June show, but I had already a previous booking that I committed to. And like looking back, I probably should have just taken Dreamwave, but the August shows, I didn't even know what it was. We had two 6-person scrambles. Zeta won the first one. And I didn't even know what these scrambles were for. And then the second night it got revealed that like the second scramble was gonna be to get a match for the inaugural title, which I didn't even know. So like I went out there and I won the match, right? Like
Mhm.
freaking pinned everybody. I don't remember how I won that match, but I won it. And
Mhm.
then I wrestled Zeta for the title, and that was like crazy because I didn't even know like what was on the line going into
Mhm.
those double shot matches. But yeah, no, it was wild. And then the hype for it was just insane. Like Zeta and I did everything we could to make sure that all eyes were on us. Like that was my first time. Like Dreamer was the first time ever being on IWTV, and we got like the poster for the day, like,
Mhm.
and yeah, it was like the biggest match in Dreamwave history. Their first women's main event, their first women's championship, belt presented by Alundra Blaze. Like that's wild.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that
Belt
actually.
announced by
Wow.
Mickey James.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, and 2 legends, that she just name
Yep.
dropped right now, Alundra Blaze and Mickey James. Um, so becoming champion, you're defending it. Um, the injury, and I don't mean to go back to the downer. How did it happen? How does it feel?
So I got injured a month ago, June 8th, in my match with Kylie Ray. I jumped off the top rope, and as I was coming down, my leg was extended, and I came down on it bad, and I heard pops, and instantly I was like, "Uh-oh, there's something wrong." And just
Mhm.
like this feeling of just fear and sadness, because all I could think about was the huge booking that I had the next day that I had to cancel, and it was just like I was like, "Oh, something's wrong." Like I was laying on the ground and I felt pain in my knee, but I was like, this isn't just like this, there's something wrong. And I started freaking out. And then obviously like match ended or whatever. And I got to the back and I couldn't walk and it just like gave out on me and buckled. And I was like, no, it's happening again. Cause like I tore my other ACL 2 years ago at training, not even thinking it was torn. But this time I try to be super optimistic about it, and, like, I almost did the match at Dreamwave, but I was just like, "Alright, like, there's so many logistics where I just know I can't wrestle a match." So, yeah, it was really hard, it really, really sucked, then I found out that it was a torn ACL again, and it sucks. I was really praying that it was just a sprain or a jam or something,
Mhm.
because the way I came down, I was like, all right, it could just be a knee jam. Like I just jammed my knee. I just need like a couple weeks off. But then the MRI showed that it was a high grade partial ACL tear, which my doctor said was a full tear. But I guess the doctor that read the AC or read the MRI said that it was high grade. So I was like, all right, like it's just partial.
Mhm.
But yeah, because I almost did a few shows there before realizing that it was torn.
Mhm.
So
Well, stars are meant to soar, and that's something that you are. Brittany is a star, and I know you're going to come back stronger than ever. For any of these challengers, anybody on the independent circuit, anybody in the big promotions, is there anything you would like to tell them on your comeback, when you come back, anyone you want to
ooh.
shout out to, any specific person?
All right. So this comeback is personal. Last time I got hurt, I was like, on the verge of quitting wrestling. Like I was very just like not into it. This time was the absolute worst time I could have gotten hurt. So that means that this comeback and this PT and everything I'm going to do is going to be absolutely like never seen before. Like I'm a John Cena this crap. Just so y'all know, when he tore his pec and came back at the Royal Rumble, that's about to be me. So, yeah, I'm going to do a list of like the indies that I want to get to, because there's a lot of indies that I haven't wrestled at, like Prestige and Defy, and I want to go back to GCW, and I want to do West Coast Pro, and I want to do like New Texas Pro again. I want to do DPW. Like, there's so many shows that I want to get to. So all of them are going to be put on notice, because that Brittany Brooks comeback tour is going to be absolutely legendary. So hide your belts, because I'm taking them all, especially Maggie Lee. Hide your belt, because I never lost that and I'm coming straight for that. So
You heard it right here on the Cutting Room Podcast that Brittany Brooks is coming arms crossed through that stage, throwing everybody over the top rope, just like Cena at the Royal Rumble. You heard it right here before. During my research with you, I learned that you are a Disney fan.
I am. I love Disney.
Okay, favorite Disney movie of all time. We talk movies here in the cutting room. Favorite movie, Disney movie of all time.
Like classic Disney movie will be Beauty and the Beast. I love Beauty and the Beast, but I'm also a big Pixar fan and a huge Cars and Up fan.
Hmm.
So any of those, I'm obsessed with Up and I'm obsessed with Cars, but
Mhm.
like traditional Disney, not Pixar, would be Beauty and the Beast.
Okay. In in the movie industry, a lot of pro wrestlers have jumped over and made the jump to acting. Who is your favorite pro wrestler turned actor?
The Rock. The Rock. I mean, I was having this debate the other day because somebody said that The Rock was not a good actor, and I was like, "Are you wildin'?" Because I absolutely love The Rock. If he's in a movie, I will watch it just because he's in it. Like I
Mhm,
don't even know. Like I will not watch the trailer if it's The Rock. I'm like, all right, I'm going to see
mhm,
that because I know it's good. It's like any like I love Adam Sandler movies.
mhm,
I will watch any Adam Sandler movie just because Adam Sandler's in it. Like I watched like the random ones that I find on Netflix. Like I was like,
mhm.
"Oh, Adam Sandler's in this. It's going to be good." Same thing with like I don't know.
Ha ha
I just love
we're
yeah, I love The
you
Rock
talk
and I
you
think
talk
he's
Adam
such a great
Sandler on
actor.
Netflix, and I gotta bring it up. Uncut Gems. Did you see it?
Okay, I actually haven't seen that one,
You gotta check it out. You gotta check it out.
but I've
Oh
seen
my
like
god.
every other one. I promise.
Snubbed for the Oscar that year, and it was probably the Oscar after the pandemic. So, you gotta if you have the chance at any time, Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler, magnificent film. You're a John Cena fan, and a lot of people like to think that John Cena came out in The Marine. That was his first movie, that was the one that was promoted. Have you ever seen Ready to Rumble?
What is that about?
Ready to Rumble was the W back in WCW's last year in 2001, they released a film with David Arquette and Sean Can, the son of James Can, where they try to help Jimmy King reclaim his WCW world title. And because he
I have
lost his
not seen this.
you
I
have to
have
check it
not
out.
seen
What
this.
you're a student of the game, if you haven't seen it, you have to find the time. Ready to Rumble. It's a comedy.
I'm gonna have so much time now after
Ready
this
to Rumble,
surgery
check it
stuff.
out. But in a scene where in the gym where they go to see Goldberg, you'll see a familiar face in the background working out. Happens to be John Cena back when he was the prototype. I don't know if you could think that exactly. And you, but believe it or not, back then you could see him because he wasn't the doctor of thugonomics that we know
No,
today.
I know. The
Yeah,
ruthless aggression.
awesome. Do you do you think we'll see a Doctor of Thugonomics one more time before he hangs up? Uh,
We gotta. We gotta. Come on. That was like crazy when he came out of WrestleMania. What, like
That was the New York, yeah,
20,
exactly, when he donned
20?
the Yankees
Okay.
jersey, who's, against
Yeah,
Elias. I
that was
think
iconic.
that was iconic. Johnson has had many great,
It was iconic.
moments in his career, just like Brittany Brooks has many iconic moments in her career, and believe it or not, uh, after the, top goals, coming back from this injury, what are top goals that you have for yourself?
My top goals, like the biggest goal is to get a tryout. I told myself that this year was the year I was getting a tryout, and I knew I had a feeling it was close, and now it's taken away from me. So it's so personal.
Mhm,
And that's obviously my biggest goal. Obviously, the goals that I mentioned earlier with like the indie companies I want to wrestle. Another goal is to like wrestle those girls that I mentioned earlier that I want to wrestle.
mhm.
Um, and win back my Dreamwave championship, win that FSW women's championship that I was chasing, win every championship. Like y'all aren't even ready for the amount of belts that I'm about to have when I come back. So be ready because you aren't ready.
The belt collector is coming. Honestly, Brittany Brooks,
The
the
belt
belt collector
collector
is coming.
BB, you know.
Prior to every match, there are rituals. What is the Brittany Brooks pre-match ritual? What gets you into the zone?
Oh, the pre-match ritual is exactly what I didn't do in my last match because I didn't have time. But you know, I gotta crack open an energy drink, whether it's a new one, it's an old one. Um, Preferably Ghost because I love having a Ghost before my match. Um, I need to stretch out. Didn't do before I tore my ACL. Probably why I tore my ACL. I need to do like those bicep curls with the little bicep bands. Um, I gotta like get my jiggle wiggles out. Like I'll jump
Mhm.
up and down and like shake everything I can. Try to shake it all out on my nerves. And then I always think to myself like I was born to do this. Go out there and make myself proud. Every match can be the match that could get me a tryout.
Mhm.
So make this a good match. And I just think that in my head right before my music hits. And then I just try to go out there and forget all the nervousness and, like, the moment I walk out and just, like, see everybody, I try to, like, be in the moment as much as possible, which is very hard to do because
Mhm.
there's obviously so many thoughts and going on in your brain at once, so, yeah, I try to be in the moment as much as possible.
Okay. I like to pull up a photo that I actually came across, which actually means a lot to me because he is my all-time favorite wrestler. Solomon, if you don't mind pulling the picture of her in front of Eddie Guerrero.
Ah, yes!
How did that come about? What was your thought process? And I'm assuming this is in El Paso.
It's in El Paso, yeah.
Okay, what
So,
were you in town to do? How did this come about?
there is Pro Wrestling Legacy, which is a school and a show that's, like, 5 minutes from that mural. So I drove in after driving, like, 6 hours, I drove up to Tucson first, and then I rode with a couple people over to El Paso, and I was like, "I wanna see the Eddie mural." So we got out real quick, took a picture, and hopped back in the car and went straight to the show. But yeah, the show wasn't very far from it, and they even have, like, a newer mural, and I
Mhm.
think it's, like,
Nice.
on the building, and it's of Eddie. So if you guys are ever in El Paso, go check out, Pro Wrestling Legacy. I've wrestled there a couple times.
Okay.
And yeah,
While you were in town, did you try Chico's Tacos?
possibly because we did go to a very small taco shop,
Mhm.
and it was, like, after the show. It was one of the only things that was open.
Mhm.
I don't remember what it was called. The second time I went, though, I got Whataburger, and they
Okay.
forgot my ranch. They forgot my ranch.
You can never forget the spicy ketchup, honestly, that's the number one thing you gotta go
Oh,
to.
I can't do spice.
No?
No.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I do wanna
Now
bring
I
up
want Whataburger. Now I'm, like, really hungry.
oh, I'm so sorry, and, these are the topics that get me, like, I try to, like, my god, has she tried? Because it's an argument between me and my friends who are diehard California in and out, but, there's a connection to me to Phoenix, and there's a connection to me to El Paso, where I'm sorry, I gotta go with Whataburger whether you like it or not. Um, but you talk about legacies, looking at a picture of Eddie Guerrero, we're talking to the future of this industry, Brittany Brooks. What do you feel or what do you want to leave in your legacy after your career? What do you think you can contribute? What do you want to leave behind?
I just want to inspire people to follow their dreams and do what they love, the way that the Bella Twins and John Cena and Becky Lynch and all these people did for me because I truly would not be here. I truly would not know what my purpose was had I not just watched wrestling that one day and fell in love with it. And like, there's so many times where like people at school would make fun of me because I'd wear those like big wrestling t-shirts. And I just want people to know that it's cool to like something and to
Mhm,
love something and to be obsessed with something. Like, and if I can make even one little girl be like, "Oh, I want to be a wrestler because of Brittany Brooks," that would be everything to me. Because I know, like, one day I want to look Nikki Bella in the eye and be like, you're the reason why I'm here, and like that's just so special. And I feel like that connection with people is what keeps me going and what keeps me like, nah, like there's never any doubt that I wouldn't come back from this injury, right? But like
mhm,
it's just super hard because you're just sitting here and watching the world keep moving, and it's just like so like shoot, why did this have to happen to me? But you can't have that mindset. You have to
mhm,
keep working, and right now there's really not much I can do for the next month until I get this surgery, but just trying to stay positive and trying to be like, all right, the second I get this surgery, I'm coming back and
mhm.
I'm coming to inspire all the people I can.
One of the things I want to touch on that a lot of people who are followers of the show, if you don't understand, an injury is the most crucial time in a pro wrestler's career because it plays mind games with the talent because they feel like the talent is gonna forget about them. Nobody knows until you're into those shoes, into those boots, until you lace those boots up, take those bumps. You don't understand what it's like. It's such a thing. It's such a crucial time in a talent's career because you feel like everyone is gonna forget and move on without them. But when they come back, like this woman is gonna come back to do, it's a crucial time. You have to understand it's you feel uncomfortable because you don't know what to do. But I know you're gonna come back stronger than ever, if anything better than ever. And I hope I'm there live to see that comeback match when it happens. You talk pro wrestling tees. You're a big fan of pro wrestling tees. What's your favorite pro wrestling T-shirt of all time?
Mine?
Which you
I'm
actually
joking,
have.
I'm
You actually do
joking.
have the WrestleMania 2000 font on one of your T-shirts.
I do.
Do you
I
still have
actually
those
do
in
love that
stock?
shirt, and it was a hit, and people love it. So that's also available on my pro wrestling tees, pro wrestling tees slash Brittany Brooks.
Okay.
Um,
Which people could get on prowrestlingtees.com, right?
yep.
Okay.
I always loved Dolph Ziggler's shirts. Like, it
Okay.
was, like, probably the first shirt I ever got from Walmart, where
Mhm,
you used to be able to buy wrestling shirts at Walmart,
mhm,
but they would be, like, just the front side.
mhm,
So, that show that I was talking about I went to, I got my little Dolph Ziggler shirt in the pink, and it's just so funny because, like,
mhm,
I've been on the same shows as Nick Nemeth now, and I'm just like, "Bro, I used to be obsessed with you." Like, it's funny enough because I went to his comedy show back
mhm,
when I first started training to be a wrestler,
mhm,
and I told him, like, "Imma be a wrestler one day," and then he followed me on Instagram, and ever since then, every time he sees me, he's like, "Yo, how's it going?" And then it's like, we were on the same show, for Black Label Pro, and I was just like, "This is wild." And
mhm,
I'll, like, randomly run into him at shows and stuff, and I'll be like, "Bro, this freaking little girl that you met at your comedy show that was like obsessed with you is wrestling now.
mhm,
So watch out because you never know. I I'm blonde, he's blonde. We could do a great tag team, you
mhm.
know?
It's so funny. A similar thing that I had. I went to WrestleMania 26, which was in Phoenix. Believe it or not, I was there.
Yes.
That was main event. That was the final Shawn Michaels match.
Shawn
So
Michaels versus The Undertaker, right?
exactly, such a great match. Had no idea what was gonna happen. It was in the air. You didn't know whether the streak was gonna end, where the career was gonna end. But, I did go to Access, and at the time I was training to be a wrestler. It never did happen, but it's fine. I went in a better route in my life. But one thing you talk about talking to somebody and being like, "Hey, I used to obsess over you, and I told you this." I got to meet, Jack Swagger at that, event. I even told
Nice.
him, I got an autograph from him as well, and I told him, "Hey, maybe one day we'll see each other in the ring." He looks at me and he's like, "I'll be looking forward to it." And sure enough, it never did happen, but it's those moments that you don't know what that's gonna mean to somebody at that age and that time. Like you said, like I used to obsess over you, and now you share a locker room with them. You don't know what that's
Yeah.
gonna do to whether it's an aspiring pro wrestler, whether it's to an inspiring creative nowadays that inspires people, and that's what you are. Brittany is an inspiration to any kid who wears those pro wrestling t-shirts, that watches the shows, that goes to these live events. Believe it or not, you inspire people, and I saw that the moment I met you. And I appreciate you coming on to the Cutting Room podcast today and talking with us today. And I hope one day I get to see you live perform. Um, and you're such a great talent, and I appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me. I should be back. I mean, I was supposed to have a show in LA
Mhm,
in a couple weekends, but obviously I can't do it because I'm hurt. But yeah, I'm like so many canceled bookings, but I'll
mhm,
definitely be out in LA soon. Maybe even for Prestige. That's the goal.
mhm. Yeah, because you had invite when we met, you invited me to the Maywood Reckoning show. I
Yes,
had
yes,
a
yes.
prior engagement when I told you, I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go."
Ah,
But I had a prior engagement, like, I had no idea, I'm like, "Oh my god, I said yes to something, I can't go."
it's
But
okay. It
I did
happens.
catch the
Yeah,
show
no.
on YouTube, and they have the matchup up there, which I checked out. Such
Awesome.
great match, as always, as all the matches I've seen from you. But yes, I hope I get to see you live on the comeback, collecting those belts, and one day making to the top companies and being the star that you're meant to be.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you having me on here. I had so much fun. And yes, thank you.
So, Solomon, if you don't mind bringing up all the tags where people could find, follow, and keep up with Brittany Brooks. These are all the stuff.
Yeah.
Here you go.
The Brittany Brooks on Instagram, Brittany Brooks on Twitter, Brittany Brooks on YouTube, the Brittany Brooks on TikTok, Pro Wrestling Tees, Brittany Brooks. I have so many shirt options up there. I also take orders through my Instagram for like Instagram and Twitter for like autographs and like trading cards. I have trading cards from Raw Deal Indie Card. I have all different types of merch, stickers, everything.
Perfect. And I didn't want to put this on the spot, but now that you mention it, do you still have the WrestleMania 2000 font T-shirts in stock?
I have a couple sizes. I am thinking about restocking soon because I'm still doing, if you guys live in Arizona, come out to AWF next
Mhm,
weekend because we're doing, AWF, I can't remember what the show's called,
mhm,
but I'm doing a valet manager for Taylor Kingsley, so
mhm.
y'all will still get your little Brittany Brooks fix. But yeah, I do need to restock some of my shirts because I'm, like, super low on T-shirts now. But actually, the WrestleMania 2000s font, I think, is on Pro Wrestling Tees, and
Okay.
which is unlimited sizes. So,
Reason I ask specifically for that T-shirt because I would love an autograph T-shirt of Brittany Brooks from you because honestly,
oh,
you never
awesome.
know where this star is gonna be, and I don't wanna miss my opportunity now that I have her on the show, and hopefully this will bring many appearances in the future, and I love to wish you luck in your endeavors and your career and everything that you do, Brittany, because, you're one hell of a talent, and
Thank you.
I would like to, close this show up, and that's a wrap on Brittany Brooks here on the Cutting Room Podcast. Thank you for having us, and thank you for coming on to the show, Brittany.
Thank you.